forget to like, subscribe, comment, and click the notification button.
Hi everyone! I am Dr. Larissa Gata, a sociologist, forester, and educator. In this video, I will be sharing with you the class presentation of SFFG 152, Sociology of Natural Resources, Section Y.
This is a class presentation, a student activity being conducted in SFFG 152 every semester. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the activity responses have been modified to suit the virtual learning setup. Activity responses, or more popularly known as AR, refer to individual and group output-based tasks, which I have personally designed for each topic included in the course content of SFFG 152. If you have any inquiries and comments, kindly use the comment section and the students will be more than willing to respond to them to the best of their abilities.
Good evening, everyone. What a breezy Christmas night. I am Ethel, one of your hosts for tonight's magical event. I hope you're all warm and comfortable because we are about to start our program.
I can see that everyone is up to no good. Is that right, SFFG 152Y? I am Vicmar, and together with Ethel, wear your hats and brooms because we're going to explore the different houses, or should I say, ARs in the house of Gata.
To start off our program, may we call on Mr. Joms Guzman to lead us into prayer, followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Let us come in the presence of the Lord in prayer. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful evening. Thank you for the effort and availability of everyone as we gather here today. We pray for this event to be successful, O Lord, and we pray for stable connectivity. Grant us wisdom and knowledge as we speak. Father, forgive us of our shortcomings, and may your will be done in us, in Christ Jesus. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Good evening once again. So, Vicmar, what house do you belong to, by the way?
Ethel, I'm from Gryffindor. How about our classmates? Can I see that we can see that they all look like wizards ready to cast their spells. But what exactly is going to happen tonight, partner?
Well, tonight, the entire class of SFFG 152 Section Y will showcase all their amazing presentations.
Wow, that's great. I'm excited to see what our classmates have in store for us. But before we officially begin, let us first have a few remarks from our class president, Ms. Rendo De Ovido.
Good day, fellow students, faculty, and family. Today marks the end of SFFG 152 Section Y's journey to the subject. Dr. Gata once mentioned that as members of the society, we have to think beyond ourselves. That is especially true in times like this, when chaos and uncertainty plague our society. Thus, we must extend our understanding, open mindedness, and above all, compassion. We share to you our newfound knowledge in analyzing stakeholders, assessing the media effects, connecting population to resources, highlighting the roles of women in the natural resource management, and lastly, the governance of natural resources. My dear classmates, I am proud of your growth as members of the society. Please use the skills and knowledge you have gained in this subject to make the world a better place in your own simple ways. Beloved audience, without further ado, it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you the amazing presentation of our future foresters and economists. Aloha Mora, you have been unlocked.
Thank you for that, Ren. With that, let's also acknowledge our dashing and wonderful headmaster, Professor Larissa Gata. And to our friends and families who are here today to support us. Thank you all for being here. And to our handsome and beautiful classmates, are you excited? Kaway-kaway naman dyan mga ka-section Y. Ayan, hello.
A part of our course is to understand the relationships of people with the environment. Because of this, our class has chosen three important environmental issues in the Philippines and have conducted stakeholder analysis for each. Through this, we were able to take note of which groups of people would affect or be severely affected by these key issues. With that, get ready to be charmed with our first presenter, Group 1.
Hello everyone, we are Group 1 and our community is Lambak in Pagsanhan. It is a barangay situated within a forest with a sparse vegetation cover. It is between two mountain ranges and near to a body of water. It is in a flood plain. Now, to conduct a stakeholder analysis in the barangay, we first, of course, identified the purpose of our analysis. We identified the problem that needs to be addressed, and after that, we conducted a focus group discussion to understand the systems in Lambak and also know the decision makers in the barangay. And with that, we identified the principal stakeholders, including their characteristics, interests, and circumstances.
The main problem discussed by Cap Cabales are the illegal charcoal making activities of its residents. The top 10 stakeholders identified are the banqueros, farmers, barangay councilors, families who practice charcoal making, senior citizens, the barangay captain, forest rangers, the Sangguniang Kabataan, the LGUs, and the residents.
For the stakeholder with the highest interest comes from the rank 1 to 4 with the values ranging from 1.12 to 1.43. These stakeholders are intimately involved with the community in Pagsanhan, Laguna, and most notably involved in using forests and agricultural resources for their livelihood. On the other hand, those who were grouped within rank 5 to 8 with the values 1.57 to 2 represent the various government offices, officers, and other agencies that are involved in decision-making process and contribute to the community growth and potential regression.
Furthermore, those who were grouped in ranks 9 to 12 are deemed generally the outsiders and other different government offices surrounding towns, barangays, and municipalities with less participation and farther proximity in the community. It only makes sense that the stakeholders with the highest interest are heavily involved and are from Barangay Lambak. This is because they are the most affected and the most engaged in illegal charcoal making, may it be to support or to end it.
The stakeholders were divided into 5 ranks. We divided each rank into categories based on the amount of power they have in relation to the problem, which is government organizations such as the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. For rank 1, since they have the power to create and mandate policies. For rank 2, we choose organizations that are responsible for implementing policies such as LGUs and forest rangers. Barangay Lambak associations such as farmers and senior citizens are placed in rank 3 since they are the ones who are directly affected by the problem.
Moreover, rank 4 has lesser power to influence in crafting policies and lesser involvement in managing the resources compared to the first three ranks. Some of the stakeholders included here are the health facilities, tricycle drivers, microfinance, and tourists. Lastly, 33% of the identified stakeholders are ranked fifth. This includes potential residents, town and cities surrounding Laguna and Manila de Bay. These stakeholders have the least power to influence, but they are also being affected and can still affect the issue.
Overall, with the results of the stakeholder analysis, our group found out that the stakeholders' interests vary from one another. It can be for governance, peace and order, income and profit, natural resource protection and conservation, and survival. In addition, stakeholders within the barangay have more interest than with the stakeholders outside the barangay. In terms of power, on the other hand, stakeholders with power are individuals or groups of people with positions in government. Lastly, our group would like to recommend more stakeholder analysis to be conducted in the area. These studies will keep track of the possible future impacts of charcoal making in the stakeholders, vice versa.
What a very wonderful presentation. For our viewers, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to use the comment section and use the hashtag SFFG152, the class who lived. Now, let's proceed with Group 2's presentation.
The establishment of the 60-meter tall 12.2 billion pesos worth China-funded Kaliwa Dam within the Sierra Madre mountain ranges and some municipalities of Quezon and Rizal has been a subject of debate and criticisms within Filipino people. Some support its establishment because it will reduce the dependency on the critical dams such as the Angat Dam and the Ipo Dam during droughts and El Nino.
While the project may provide a solution to long-existing problems, it will displace the indigenous Dumagat and Romantados tribes, together with over 28,000 hectares of forests, which serve as habitats of several endemic and endangered species.
The group selected General Nakar, Quezon Province as its main community, as it is among the affected areas of the Kaliwa Dam. Overall, there are 52 stakeholders identified by the group. These stakeholders ranges from the international level up to the local level. The group tries to answer what are the socio-economic and environmental impacts of the Kaliwa Dam.
The group has conducted an online meeting to discuss the specific project they want to have a stakeholder analysis. After agreeing on the specific project, which is the environmental economic impacts of Kaliwa Dam, the group then collected information about the topic from documentaries, news articles, and government websites. Using a shared Google document, they enlisted the stakeholder ranging from the minorities to majorities that could possibly affect the implementation of the project. After the enlistment of the different parties, the group evaluated the power and interest of the stakeholders by giving them scores ranging from 1 to 4 for the level of power and 1 to 5 for the level of their interest. This both scoring process followed the format considering 1 is the highest and 4 and 5 is the lowest score that a stakeholder could possibly have.
After these processes, the group also conducted a separate scoring for the different considered dimensions, following the range of 1 to 3, considering 1 as the highest score. After the scoring processes of these dimensions, the values were then computed to obtain the mean. These values of mean were used to rank how important the resources were for them. Then the results and conclusion were just explained and composed.
All of these 52 stakeholders have varying importance and roles with regards to natural resource management. Some serve as policymakers, some are financiers, some are managers, some serve as protectors of the environment and other affected stakeholders, while others are the utilizers. Each of them has the potential to contribute positive and negative impacts to our natural resources. It is important to remember that the interests and the importance are often competing. There are many who will benefit and there are those who will lose. Their importance and roles lie on which side they will favor.
For interest, the focus group discussion revealed that there are two distinct separations of stakeholders. One advocating for the establishment of Kaliwa Dam to address the water scarcity issue in Metro Manila, and to advance for the socio-economic development of the country through building infrastructure, while others wish to protect and preserve their ancestral lands and natural resources, along with advocating for the rights and welfare of the Filipino people, including our minority groups. Based on the scoring set by the group, It was observed that the 41 expressed interest in the establishment of the dam, while 8 showed minimal interest, 3 expressed no interest at all.
With regards to power, there are stakeholders who have greater and lesser power. Those with greater power have the authority and wealth, such as public officials, government agencies, and financial institutions, and many more, while those who are less powerful have little to no influence or wealth. One might consider that the indigenous people are powerful because they have the ability to not sign the FPIC. However, evidence suggests that bypassing of authority and non-compliance to requirements have been observed. They also overlooked and neglected the calls of the IPs. 23 stakeholders are identified to be powerful compared to the 18 others who were identified as less powerful. Furthermore, 11 stakeholders are identified to be lacking of power with regards to the project.
So these are the 10 stakeholders who made the cut in terms of their importance in natural resource management. As seen, they are those stakeholders that are within the immediate vicinity of the dam and will be directly affected with its establishment. They will be displaced in different locations, and their ancestral lands and sources of livelihood will be severely affected.
While the dam may assist the socio-economic development of some Filipinos, its costs involve degrading our forests and watershed ecosystems. The group suggests a truly inclusive and open discussion that caters to the needs and wants of the stakeholders that will immediately be affected, a discussion that will ensure no abuse of power.
With that ends our presentation. Thank you.
What a splendid and informative presentation by Group 2. Thank you all for your hard work. With that, let's check out the final presentation from Group 3.
A pleasant day to all of you. We are the Group 3 here to present our stakeholder analysis for the Burgos Wind Farm in Ilocos Norte, Philippines. Our report is divided into 4 main sections: the introduction, methodology, results, and conclusion. So let us start with the background of the given project.
The project site is in the municipality of Burgos, Ilocos Norte. The municipality has 11 barangays and 7 of them are coastal areas. The project covers 1,296 hectares, but the wind farm only covers 618 hectares across 3 barangays: Sawit, Poblacion, and Nagsurot.
The Burgos Wind Farm project, an onshore wind farm owned and operated by EDC Burgos Wind Power Corporation, which is fully subsidized by the Energy Development Corporation, plans to expand their program for renewable energy projects by constructing and operating 150 windmills in Burgos, Ilocos Norte that will provide renewable energy to more than 300 barangays. It is the biggest wind farm in the Philippines.
The identified environmental problem or issue in the project site is the damaged topsoil due to excavation, clear-cutting of forested areas, loss of habitat for biodiversity, permanent soil loss, increased surface runoff, and reduced water quality.
For the methodology, we conducted a series of brainstorming sessions to come up with a list of stakeholders and a series of FGDs to analyze their roles and importance in the project. In the picture shown, the group discussion started by choosing a locality with an existing environment-related problem. Then we come up to environmental impacts of Burgos Wind Farm project in Ilocos Norte. The Jamboard application is utilized in the brainstorming of potential stakeholders of the chosen site so that everyone in the group can share their insights ranging from local to international stakeholders.
To accomplish the templates, the group conducted a focus group discussion on templates 3 and 4, which requires ranking of interest, power, and other criteria. During discussion, the group collated different perceptions from each member. The main reference for this analysis is the Asian Development Bank and Energy Development Corporation. Data on stakeholder analysis are tabulated in Microsoft Excel.
Now let's move to the results of the stakeholder analysis. Let's take a look at the complete list of the 54 stakeholders identified in the Burgos Wind Farm. This consists of stakeholders from the international level down to the community level.
We categorize the stakeholders into different sectors shown in the chart. The sector having the highest percentage is the environment and natural resources sector with almost 26%.
To discuss the template 1 and 3, the majority of the stakeholders belong in environment and natural resources,
with 25.9%, and their main interest in the project is environmental impacts. Their interest will result to future changes in the wind farm, such as integrated sustainable management of natural resources. The business and corporation sector are the stakeholders that have interest for finance, contractors, and business. They provide financial and human resources in the project. In the governance, they are responsible for giving permits and issuances to let the wind farm push through with its operations. Also, the local groups and individuals have interest in the wind farm since their source of livelihood from farming, fishing, and local businesses are all affected. However, they have the least power among the identified stakeholders. Overall, the interest and power of the stakeholders vary in their terms of contribution and how the project affects their activities on a day-to-day basis.
The graph above shows an overview of Template 2 by describing the relevance of the stakeholders according to the roles it provides and how it influences the framework for the execution of the project. The degree of influence between the stakeholders is based on their role and how it affects natural resource management. The higher the percentage the stakeholder has, the greater the effect of it has on the wind farm project.
Now let's take a look at the top 10 stakeholders identified in our focus group analysis, who were ranked based on the 7 criteria that reflect their value on natural resources. And this graph shows their average scores. Now first, on the top of the list we have the upland farmers who are affected by the permanent soil loss in the area. Next, sharing the number one spot with the farmers are the fishermen, whose livelihood are affected by the loss of marine life due to coastal pollution. Next, we have the households, who are vulnerable to the project externalities.
Followed by the laborers, which are demanded for project construction. Next are the drivers and transport groups, which will have income increase as tourists visit. Then the barangay council assigned for local jurisdiction and policy implementation. Followed by souvenir shop owners, which will have more customers equating to sales increase.
Next will be the Burgos Agribusiness Association as the sector influence local policies and ordinances to govern agricultural resources amid social and economic demands. Followed by the Community Environment and Natural Resources Office, assuring sustainable and efficient utilization of natural resources relevant to the project. Next will be the Municipal Agriculture Office allocating resources in proper planning in accordance to the said project. Followed by the LGU's DRRMC conducting of investigations, compliance to necessary safety protocols, permits, license, and policies. Last will be the hotels and resort owners as legal business establishment with compliance of rules provided by the DOT and DENR for proper protection of environment and socio-economic development.
The systemized holistic research nature of stakeholder analysis provides an ethical, sustainable, and efficient framework as a basis for power distribution and policy implementation. It simplifies the intricacies between different societal levels along with corresponding conflicts of interest and powers. Other than that, it promotes sustainability and equity among the stakeholders by recognizing their goals and objectives and providing a common ground in which all can agree with. That is all. Thank you for listening.
Again, another amazing presentation. Thank you, Group 3, and well done to our first 3 presentations.
That's a wrap for all our stakeholder analysis. Well done, stakeholder analysis, mga muggles. And to everyone watching, please don't forget to drop your comments and use the hashtag.
For our next set of presentations, it is important to note how media affects society in different ways. After all, Maria Ressa just bagged the first Nobel Peace Prize for the Philippines, and we all know that this is an outstanding feat for the Filipinos.
Well said, Migs. It's really important for us to know how different types of media influence us and what aspects of this media are imperative to give these effects. Our next set of presentations does exactly that with specific examples and a big twist. So let there be no further delay. Let's watch all the group presentation.
Meghan Markle's 6 reasons why she divides people, even American, is meant to uncover the controversy surrounding the royal duchess. This article entails sense of racism against Black women because of the discrimination Meghan experienced prior to being part of the royal family. This article highlights the stereotypes imposed to a woman. However, Meghan managed to overcome them and emerged as an outstanding royal.
Godzilla versus a smog monster implies about stopping pollution. The short clip shows Godzilla fighting the monster, which plays the image of environmental defenders and the pollution. It challenged the stereotype that humans are ignorant about the existence of pollution. However, it's a hoax when the people started to help Godzilla in fighting the monster that represents the battle between people and pollution.
Ang TV mo episode of Yes Diaries with DJ Karen aims to entertain mature audiences. It is a woman's monologue on a sympathetic male partner who can satisfy her sexual needs. The narrative and symbols serve as allegory to a natural environment that is taken for granted. The program portrayed the stereotype that women are for households while men are for workplace. It also challenges the ideal dalagang Filipina by showing that women can also express their sexual desires.
The Selecta ice cream commercial aimed for product advertisement through the depiction of a Filipino family on a typical hot day. It shows family-oriented value and love for food. Climate change is evident through the depiction of hot weather. The commercial portrays men as the providers of the family, while it also challenges the idea that sweets are directly related to obesity.
The Syncrude poster tries to convince that Syncrude partners with significant stakeholders for inclusive development. An old male tribe member, a middle-aged brown man, and a white woman in her early 30s were shown in the poster, implying development is occurring. IP's relationship with their environment is remarkable due to their dependence on it, but they are depicted to be primitive and inferior. Also, it suggests that IPs are open for change and women can be part of the professional workforce.
For type A is the depiction of IPs as partners to make people believe they are socially responsible and environmentally friendly. For type B is the presentation of IPs as part of the success to create a long-standing trustworthy image of the company. For type C, it implies a stereotypic message through incorporation of the IPs as a thing in the past and less capable as compared to the futuristic professional image being more capable. For type D, it appeals to be environmentally aware, which is a common strategy of large corporations.
This is the poster, which is entitled Sansar Phone Booth by the Chua Senko, made by Thailand Advertisement Agency for Sansar Handgel of Only Green Co, which aims to advertise and encourage the general public to buy their product. The advertisement is about the awareness of the dirt you can get from public spaces and the things that are exposed to public.
For the article, Royal Wedding 2018. The purpose of the article is to inform the public about the wedding ceremony of Prince Harry and Meghan, who broke few royal wedding traditions. The stereotypes portrayed in the article include royal family members must marry someone who is also from a royal family. The bride is expected to be escorted by someone down the aisle. Lastly, reception is formal since it is a royal wedding.
Puppy is. So you're like on a spy mission. Cool. Yes, cool. And if when I succeed, I'll become a baby core legend like Super Big Boss Baby, Mega Boss Baby.
For the movie, the Boss Baby DreamWorks animation produced by the film which was distributed by the 20th Century Fox. The movie focuses on how Theodore and Tim reluctantly join forces to fight puppies as they seize all the world affection. The movie does not demonstrate the common stereotype that the older always has the authority over the younger child in the family.
Practice ako ng practice! May uniform na ako! Nay, bakit?
Pag nanay ka, alam mo kung ano magpapasarap sa araw niya masaklap.
The material for TV is the 2009 Magnifico TV commercial made by Mondelez Corporation. It aims to encourage Filipino mothers to use Lucky Me Instant Money to comfort their children as they experience setbacks in achieving their dreams. The TV commercial associated mothers as caregivers and the ones that are tasked to provide emotional comfort for their family. Commercial associated Blue and Basketball with Boys.
Mga misis, amoy araw ba si mister pag uwi galing sa trabaho? Dahil yan sa germs sa katawan nila. At para labanan ng amoy araw at amoy pawis, gumamit ng
The material is entitled Shield Bath Soap Bridge Commercial from DWYSFM 101 point. It aims to persuade Filipino housewives of lower or middle class. The stereotype is that women are in charge of the household. It portrays women are only housewives while men are providers and unhygienic.
For the short-term deliberate media effect, viewers are persuaded to buy the product.
For the long-term deliberate media effect, it is the sustained income for the company, patronage to the company's product, hygiene, conscious.
On the other hand, we think that it is not a short-term intention of the company to offend men who does not necessarily fit the description that they told in the commercial.
For the long-term unintended effect of the media, there is a perpetuation of gender roles and stereotypes.
and subliminally instilling the idea that men are spiritual men, leading to violence against women and gender inequality in workspace as well as in resource access. There is also the gendering household chores.
This Mr. Clean print ad showcase mothers as good housewives whose main role is to do house chores. This printout receives backlash because it promotes women's stereotypical roles.
This news article from Foreign Broadsheet Mirror talks about Jennifer Aniston choosing not to have a family. This article talks about stereotype on their function as a woman.
Unang tingin pa lang na in love na ako. Kakakilig talaga ang presyo. Starts at 35 pesos lang.
This is made to advertise the products of McDonald's called Mac Savers, where the low price will make you feel kilikin in love.
Pwede umanggas at kilikili. Minsan bitin clean kahit yung washing machine at kusutin.
Gulat ka? Bagong klaseng linis, Tide Machine Expert!
Commercial is about a detergent giving whiter and fragrant smell to clothes even when using washing machine. It is produced by Tide Philippines to advertise for their new and improved product.
What kind of a princess are you?
Do people assume all your problems got solved because a big strong man showed up?
Yes, what is up with that?
She is a princess.
The title of the movie is Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, produced by Disney. The clip is all about how everyone defines a princess, which is being dependent to men.
The short-term deliberate media effect implies that most problems the princesses encountered in their story gets resolved after a guy with a charming personality comes to save their seemingly helpless and vulnerable state, while the short-term non-deliberate media effect of the clip is that it generalizes the role of women and overstates the need for dependence towards men.
For the long-term deliberate media effect, Disney movies instill to us that the Prince Charming will always save the damsel in distress. In this case, the hero role is always given to men and women are the helpless. While the long-term non-deliberate media effect, watching so many Disney movies has a long-term impact on the audience, particularly females. When you think that you're just watching it for fun, but didn't realize that you're now looking for a Prince Charming type of a guy in your real life.
Good evening, we are Group 4 and we're going to present various media portrayal of the environment and natural resources. For the poster, it is advertising the product brand Coca-Cola to the public by exhibiting parallelism between the product and people's refreshment. The thinking that people in higher or upper class are the only ones having comfortable life was portrayed in the poster. However, this was challenged by the latter, a poster's component as a means of achieving refreshment in life.
This article is informing the general public about the context and situation of protests by Hong Kong citizens against the Chinese government. Violence in the protest is the most notable people-environment interaction mentioned in the article, with it being one of the stereotypes presented and identified in this article.
This radio commercial is persuading its audience, teenagers and adults specifically, to buy their skincare product by featuring a facial skin problem solution conversation that is relatable to its audience. The program shows the stereotypes that only women are using different skincare products, that this is challenged as the program's product was fully explained by a man.
The purpose of this child-friendly and family animated movie, Inside Out, is to show the nature of our emotions. This movie shows that we have different emotions and all of these are important aspects of our lives, challenging the stereotype presented in the clip that happiness is the only emotion that we should be feeling.
This commercial about Green Cross alcohol persuades the audience to select the appropriate and top-tested brand of ethyl alcohol for their usage. This is done through selecting a motherly figure endorser that depicts mother's care through the use of their product. The commercial presented the stereotypes that Filipinos tend to purchase cheaper products and settle often for currently available in the market.
The media chosen by the group is a newspaper article. The chosen article intends to inform the general public about the context and situation of the protests done by the Hong Kong citizens against the Chinese government. Shock, sympathy, and fear were unintentionally instilled by the article amongst readers, despite its intended public informing purpose. Furthermore, the article empowers, in a short period of time, movements from oppressed groups that collective actions of resistance against an uncaring government will and should pay off. Unfortunately, the article, as it highlighted the violence that took place in the protests, will abidingly instill that protests always have the chance to be uncontrollable and end up in riots that will desensitize violence on protests around the world.
We are Group 4. Thank you.
Good day, everyone.
The title of this article is Humanity Over Religious Customs. A man from Bihar broke Ramadan fast to save blood to a thalassaemic child with Trent's desk, New Delhi, under the Indian Express. Its purpose is to publicize the heroic act of a Muslim. This heroic act of the Muslim shows how he valued things in making such decisions.
The product of the print ads is shoes or sneakers as the term used by Nike. The purpose of this printed ad is to promote their products to people, specifically to all boys and men who admire shoes. The message of this printed ads is that their shoes symbolizes or makes up a man.
Magkaisa tiyak ang tagumpay. Emperador Light, gawin mong light.
Drink responsibly. The primary goal of the material is, of course, to advertise their product and convince us, the consumers, to buy it. The material also tries to convey that no matter how terrible life throws at you, you can still have a good time with your friend and family and get drunk.
Joe Gardner, where have you been?
I've been teaching middle school band, but on the weekends
You got a suit?
Get a suit, Teach. A good suit.
The title of the animated movie clip is Soul from Pixar and Disney. This particular scene's purpose is to show that our passion can be felt by others who also share the same passion as ours.
Karen po.
Ito, para sa paborito kong apo, si Karen.
The commercial is from McDonald's Philippines, who is Lola's favorite.
It presented two main characters sharing a meal. The forgetful Lolo who kept on referring to the girl in front of him as the other Apo, Gina, until he revealed that his favorite Apo is Karen, the one who he's actually talking to.
Stereotype portrayed is that Filipinos are family-oriented and that we prioritize our family over anything else. This was depicted by the Lolo setting aside half portion of his burger for his favorite apo.
The stereotype that was challenged by the media was our family members' patience towards our elders' shortcomings, but those mishaps are not entirely their fault. It is caused by their old age, oftentimes leading to terminal diseases such as Alzheimer's. That is why their actions are not to annoy but are made out of love and no ill intention. And now for the media effect.
Type A. TV commercial showed how their products is being patronized by their customer as the Lolo set aside a portion of his burger for his apo as pasalubong.
Type B. Majority of TV commercials promote their brand by tugging the heartstrings of its viewers. In that way, it is more likely that the short clip will still be remembered as time goes by. In the case of McDonald's commercial, it became a crowd favorite ever since it aired. Hence, impactful commercials were often imitated and remade, creating a long-term effect on its target audience.
For Type C, this TV commercial demonstrates how we should value our elderly people. It encourages us to be more patient with them, pay more attention to them, and be there for them.
Type D, even though TV commercials are normally short-lived, is particularly aimed to connect and touch the viewer's emotion. This great power of emotions and feelings has an intentional prolonged impact in the mind. It is usually projected by the behavioral responses and person's views and values because they can mirror a distinct culture, set of values, and perspectives that can easily be grasped and understood. And that's all for our group. Thank you.
What a wonderful set of presentations. You guys all deserve a pat on your backs. Ethel, do you have any idea what the next set of presentations will be?
Of course, Migs. I've actually been really excited for this one since this presentation takes us all around the world. With that, let's have a look at the population dynamics and resource use of different countries presented by the class.
Good day, everyone. Today we will be presenting the population dynamics and resource use of our 5 chosen countries.
For a small country, Singapore has a very high population rate. Its population density is 8.634 people per square kilometer. It is also known to have a good economy since it has a low unemployment rate of 2.25%. And even though Singapore does not have its own natural resources, it is said that its true resource are its own people. However, because of overpopulation, the country suffers from limited water resources and increase in waste and pollution.
Vietnam has a constructive type of population. Based on the census of the U.S. Bureau, Vietnam ranked 16 out of the 236 countries in terms of population size. The large population is contributing to the environmental degradation through water and air pollution, as well as through logging and slash and burn practices.
Australia is home to 10% of the world's biodiversity and the largest country in Oceania, a continent between the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific Ocean. As of 2021, Australia's population is around 25.8 million, with a growth rate of 1.31% that has a fair distribution of male and female, but more females on 65 years and above. 46.65% of its land area is agricultural land, with major environmental problems such as soil erosion and deforestation.
Sweden has a stationary population pyramid where their birth rate is considered to be average and their overall quality of life is high. They have one of the highest GDP margins in Europe, having a 5% GDP surplus. Despite this, they have their fair share of challenges such as providing affordable housing, inappropriate timber harvesting practices, and even marine and air pollution.
China has a population of around 1.4 billion people as of 2021, with a fairly equal age distribution between males and females. This is the only large community that is not affected by the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, due to the huge population, China is experiencing the adverse effects of urbanization, such as water scarcity, urban sprawl, agricultural land degradation, and pollution. That's all for our group. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. We are Group 4 and our chosen countries are Egypt, Taiwan, Russia, Denmark, and United Arab Emirates.
Among all the countries presented, only Denmark exhibited an age population pyramid. This suggests that a large number of people in the country reach an old age, typical for well-developed countries. It is also the only one that is actively known to combat their environmental problems through green initiatives.
Among the chosen countries, Egypt was the only one that reflected a youthful population. This suggests that despite the high birth rate, a significantly high death rate exists as well. This could be related to the environmental degradation and poor health care present in the country. Additionally, more pressure is placed on reproductive population due to young people making the bulk of their populations as reflected by their dependency ratio. This also suggests that compared to the other chosen countries, it ranks last in terms of overall development.
Taiwan and Russia reflect relatively stable economies with their aging populations. This is reflected by their high GDPs that rely mainly on the services industry. The relatively well-distributed population sizes reflect these throughout different ages. As reported, the two countries have a declining birth rate due to a high sheer cost of living, resulting in citizens opting for smaller family sizes. This also suggests that their healthcare services are adequate enough to address their major health problems.
As for the United Arab Emirates, it exhibited the most unique population pyramid compared to the others. The pyramid seems to follow a youthful population structure with the majority of its citizens being males. The gender imbalance between males and females is due to the high number of male immigrants in the country as the country offers jobs that are mostly suited for males. Moreover, despite its youthful population pyramid, its annual capita per income was reportedly high. Most of its citizens are productive young adults with dependency mainly coming from the youth. Among all the chosen countries, this was the only one noted to have a higher death rates for females.
Again, we are Group 4. With that, we thank you.
The population pyramid of Cambodia shows that the majority of the population are at the age of 25 to 30 years old, which classifies to the working age groups. As the country focuses on giving employment to these age groups to industries and agriculture, it can cause detrimental effects to the natural resources and environment. Industries often contribute to water and air pollution, expansion of agriculture triggers deforestation, and urbanization causes degradation of water.
The figure shows that the bulk of the population in India is within the youth group, resulting to a higher rate of dependency ratio towards the working force, therefore limiting the economic growth. However, it encourages economic growth at the same time, since most of the young population are transitioning towards the working force. But most of the working class are grouped within the agricultural sector, which has the lowest GDP rate among other sectors. This provides a general idea of how socioeconomic factors of the population affects the environment.
Based on the population pyramid of Papua New Guinea, the largest age group as of 2021 is 0 to 4 years old, with 6.5% of males and 5.9% of females. High fertility rate can be explained due to the lack of education and people's lack of access to contraceptives. Adolescents and youth are often not completely involved or able to participate in the development of their country due to lack of formal education, appropriate facilities and activities, limited job training options, and high unemployment rate.
Majority of the population of Malaysia falls into 25 to 29 years old age group as can be seen in figure 4, which is technically the working age groups. The total dependent ratio is 44.2. Moreover, Malaysia's GDP grew from 4.31% to 5.81%, with a population growth of 1.06%. This can imply that the growth in population has a direct relationship to the growth in GDP. However, as the population grew, the inflation rate also increases.
Population pyramid of Brunei suggests that Brunei's population is composed of women aged 30 to 34 as of 2021. Brunei is the smallest population in Southeast Asia with half a million. Birth rate has gone down from 3.5 to 1.8 in the present. The trend is due to the increase of women's education and involvement in the workforce, which resulted in lesser children and later marriages. But the growth still continues as most of the women are of reproductive age. Population growth rate is at 1.4% as of 2021.
For the Canada, the population pyramid has a stationary shape. Canada population pyramid is a characteristic of a developed economy with a high living standard, where they have a better level of social and economic development, where a substantial part of the population has quality of education, and where a large portion of the population has access to healthcare.
For the Laos, the population pyramid is triangular in shape, which is usual in the developing countries. There is a high total dependency ratio and relatively low potential support. It means that there is a huge population which needs government support and adds pressure to the working population. The growing population also adds to the environmental pressure since they may exploit the capital intensive natural resources to meet the government spending. It also may lead to intensive agriculture to cater the food demand, which contributes to the soil erosion. Additionally, high population density will lead to competition for land use, which may lead to deforestation.
So next, New Zealand. It can be inferred from the population pyramid that dependency ratio in New Zealand is relatively low, which the literature supports. Since relatively less people depend on the working population, they are not likely to be subject to increased taxes to compensate for the dependent population, which means more income and savings. Now, as income rise, consumer aspirations change, and meeting heightened consumer demand typically means rising pollution levels as well as the commodity-driven deforestation, the environmental issues that the New Zealand is currently facing.
The population pyramid of Sudan is triangular in shape, indicating that the younger population is the largest. There is high youth dependency ratio, relatively low potential support ratio, and high birth rate. It means that there is larger population which needs support. It has a huge impact on the national economy since the government would have to spend more on education and childcare facilities. The growing population worsens the environmental issues since there is larger competition on scarce resources such as land, water, wildlife, and forest resources, which causes deforestation.
Lastly, the population pyramid of Spain is a constrictive type. It has smaller percentages of people in the younger age cohort, and this is usual characteristic of countries with higher levels of social and economic development.
The Philippines. This Southeast Asian country boasts of approximately 110 million Filipinos, with almost equal numbers of males and females. The country produces a large labor force of 37.37 of its total population. However, the Philippines is a country with a population of 16.7% living below the poverty line. The large-scale environmental degradation caused by illegal logging and mining pollution is attributed to the poverty incidence of the country.
Next country is Japan. Japan is an Eastern Asian country with a population of approximately 124 million people and is among the richest countries in the world, with only a population of 2.36% living below the poverty line. The country is also a favorite tourist destination due to its lustrous and well-preserved environment. The only challenges they encounter are overconsumption of fish resources and air pollution. Moreover, Japan is also a growing older population, which poses a problem to the country's current population.
Indonesia has a staggering 275 million people, ranking fourth in the most populated countries in the world. It has fairly strong and stable workforce, with 42.56% of its population belonging to this category. Indonesia has a poverty population of 9.4% in 2018, relatively lower compared to its neighboring countries. Indonesia suffered from massive deforestation and wildfire. This may be attributed to the country's large population.
Next, we have Hong Kong. As a small country, Hong Kong has a dense population and at the same time has an active economy because majority or 59.9% of its population are in the labor force. This socio-economic characteristics of the country makes it an easy target of environmental issues like air pollution and water pollution from urban wastes and industries.
Lastly, Armenia. With the only population of 3 million people, it is observable that there are more women than men in this country. Armenia has a quite a low economic performance with only $13 billion GDP and a 26.4% total of its population, living below the poverty line. However, this country also experiences massive environmental challenges such as soil pollution due to toxic chemicals release, deforestation, and potential scarcity in water resources due to hydropower usage.
Congratulations for the wonderful set of presentations, guys. It feels like we already traveled the world because of that. Now, let's proceed to the next set of presentations for AR9.
TENCAB, or the theory of engaged collaboration along borders, has four dimensions, namely technological or legal, ethical, economic, and ethnic. The group patterned its own framework to the TENCAB with regard to the 52 identified stakeholders of the Kaliwa Dam project. The graph shows that Kaliwa Dam project was issued and financially funded by the President under his Build, Build, Build project, and China Exim Bank and Engineering Corporation. This project is composed of different interests. One of them is the personal interest of the President, who personally chose China investor for the wealth that it could provide. He probably chose more for the benefit of the country's international relation rather than his own people's sake. As a result, it was blocked by the different communities and groups surrounding the project site.
This blockage intention was because of the possible negative effects of the project on them. The community also believed that it could help in resolving one issue, which is water scarcity, but it could also give rise to another problem, whether economically or in the environment. The community has had a collaboration with the different sectors and NGOs, such as the environmental non-government organization and socio-civic non-government agency to further raise their voice regarding their rights. As it is patterned to the framework of TENCAB, these NGOs will help the community to reach out to external actors and involve them on the issue of Kaliwa Dam.
This collaboration was made in order to create a persuasion and protest towards the government and investors to stop the construction of the dam. But this protest was also blocked. Even though it was blocked, the NGO's goal will stand still and will continue to fight for the rights of the affected tribes and communities to preserve their cultures and natural resources.
Thank you, everyone, and that's AR9, Natural Resources Conservation.
Good day, we are Group 3 and we are here to present the results on AR9 Natural Resource Governance.
Known as the theory of engaged collaboration across borders, TENCAB explains how transnationalism functions in different NGOs to pressure the state into taking up actions against the rising concerns of the community.
TENCAB tackles the importance of the role of state and the non-state actors as well as the communities in addressing the issues associated with natural resource management. In natural resource governance, domestic NGOs can collaborate with international NGOs, hence implying the concept of engagement across borders and effectively addressing the issues and concerns regarding the natural resources.
In creating our framework, we identified the major actors in the Burgos Wind Farm project. We patterned it to the TENCAB framework where there are involved NGOs, states, and community. We looked for the connections of these actors that are involved and then came up with the actions involved in the processes.
So as you can see, based on our FGD, these negative environmental impacts of the Burgos Wind Farm project are affecting the community, particularly the farmers, the fisher folk, and households, among others. And to address these issues, the role of NGOs like the Burgos Agribusiness Association, Oceania Philippines, will come in as they collaborate with the community and as they also create links and share information with other international NGOs, who together will create pressure to their respective governments. And this pressure will create or initiate collaboration between the Philippine and foreign governments like the Denmark, Australia, and New Zealand, which are countries that have stake on the project. And as a response, the DNR at our national level will implement or formulate policies and regulations, issue permits and licenses, and will continuously monitor and evaluate the impacts of the project. and these measures are directed to the project developers who will be compelled to take mitigation actions, and this can also encourage these entities to ensure social and economic welfare of the affected groups through active consultation, grievance collection, and even monetary compensation.
The designed framework could be utilized to mitigate, if not to totally eliminate, the negative externalities of the wind farm development on Burgos by ensuring good governance and policy implementation of the government through engaged collaboration between non-state actors and transnational organizations directed to the interest of the affected community.
Again, we are Group 3. With that, thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, we are Group 1 and here is our framework based on TENCAB.
The theory of engaged collaboration across borders postulated by Dr. Gata describes how small environmental campaigns started in the Third World can evolve into a transnational advocacy network. Applying the theory in Barangay Lambak in Pagsanhan, Laguna, we can explain how a local initiative to end illegal charcoal making can transform into a transnational advocacy network. Illegal charcoal making has been causing floods, health problems, destruction of natural resources, as well as limitations in the livelihoods of the people in Barangay Lambak. The local community informed their local government units about their problem. However, the LGUs does not have the political will to prioritize in addressing these problems. Hence, they do not provide appropriate solutions to the problem. The local non-government organizations are the ones providing aids to the local community. Now, through information, education, and communication campaigns coupled with networking, capacity buildings, legal and direct actions that the local non-government organizations can initiate, international cooperation can then be invoked. So these NGOs can turn their advocacy to stop charcoal making into a transnational advocacy network that will involve international advocates to help their cause. In turn, foreign NGOs may then provide assistance through funding, technical support, and collective protests that in turn can amplify the calls and causes of these NGOs, particularly to end illegal charcoal making. This would then pressure the LGUs to address the problem. The authorities will be pressured to start strict implementation of relevant environmental laws and ordinances, increase participation of the local community, and provide assistance, especially livelihood assistance and opportunities for the people affected. And with that, the problem in Barangay Lambak concerning illegal charcoal making can then be solved.
That's all for our framework. Thank you.
Nicely done, everyone. But first, mag-vibe check muna tayo. Magingay, Section Y! Ayan. You all guys did well in your presentation. Magical indeed.
So, ayan, Migs, let's check on everyone muna. May we call on Miss Ira Mariz for her brief comment regarding the previous presentations?
I'd like to commend the concise presentation of all groups and each framework was clearly discussed.
Ayan, agree ba kayo doon, Section Y? If you are, please press the party popper icon.
Migs, I'm excited to see the highlight of the event. Can you tell us about it?
We're actually on our last set of presentations. This is actually one of my favorite ARs. For the next few presentations, we look at the role of women and men for natural resource management in selected tribes all over the planet. I can't wait how to see our classmates imagine or role-play their chosen communities.
SFFG 152 Section Y, Akio.
The Kalanguya derive their ethnic name from the contraction of the words Kele Ngo Iya, which literally means what in the world is this. The Kalanguya tribe are scattered throughout Pangasinan, Cagayan Valley, Nueva Ecija, and the Cordillera administrative areas. Kalanguyans are ecosystem people who perform traditional methods that help to maintain and preserve the environment and forest resources.
The role of the Kalanguya men and women do not differ with one another when it comes to their work. However, they fairly distribute their work to both men and women.
This is because Kalanguya recognizes that women play significant roles in their community, especially when they practice Sweden farming. Most notably, both Kalanguya men and women, especially today, opt to not use their traditional clothing for kaingin activities or when they go up to forests.
Roles of Kalanguya men. The Kalanguya men are responsible for gathering firewood, plowing, and carving out new Sweden farms. In this picture, we can see that they have a wooden basket on their backs that are used for storing firewoods, leaves, and other necessary resources. The traditional clothing of Kalanguya men are G-string called kubal. The pattern design and color combination are the same with women. They also wear sleeveless vests made of the same material. Lastly, they wear headgear made of the same fabric with the bird's feather attached to it. Modern Kalanguya men also wear comfortable and regular clothes as shown in the picture for more mobility when performing activities such as climbing trees.
On the other hand, the Kalanguya women are in charge of planting, weeding, and harvesting of their Sweden farms. Their traditional clothing is similar to the men, however, they wear it as skirts instead of G-strings. They also use bead bracelet as their headgear or use the same headgear with men. In this picture, we can see that the Kalanguya women are holding a plate of their harvest in a social gathering. Kalanguya women of today may tend to opt not to wear their traditional clothing when they do Sweden activities. Instead, they reserve their clothing for special and social occasions.
Activity Response 8, Women, Environment, and Natural Resources, the case of Kalanguya tribe of the Ikalaha.
Good day. My name is Joe Becerra from group number 8. I'll be your tour guide today as we delve into the topic of tribal gender roles and natural resource management. Come with us as we embark on a journey to analyze the role of men and women in natural resource conservation and planning in the country of Malaysia.
Our journey begins by taking a closer look on the gender roles in the tribe Orang Asli in relation to natural resource conservation and management practices. Orang Asli is a tribe in Peninsular Malaysia. As of October 2021, the tribe has a total population of 178,000 individuals, which constitutes the 0.7% of the Malaysian population. Most of the tribe inhabits places that are far-flung from civilization or rural areas. The tribe is considered to be one of the most impoverished individuals in Malaysia since it lives below the poverty line and are constricted by political and social factors.
What are the roles of women and men in the tribe of Orang Asli in terms of natural resources conservation?
The Orang Asli women acted not just as housewives but also as innovators, which led to the formation of revenue through cultural tourism and cultural products. They also committed in assisting in promoting handicrafts and dance to maintain the Orang Asli traditional identity. Orang Asli women significantly contribute to their community's social, economic, and cultural lives. In terms of wildlife initiatives, while indigenous women have benefited financially by working in the tourism sector or selling handicrafts, indigenous men have benefited the most financially from working as park guards or tourist guides. Orang Asli communities, notably in terms of men's leadership and decision-making roles. Men of the Orang Asli establish control over resources.
What is the importance of the gender roles within the tribe of Orang Asli in terms of natural resources conservation?
As seen earlier, women in the tribe of Orang Asli preserves the culture and traditional identity of the entire tribe. This includes preserving the native dialect, traditional products, concoction of medicinal potions, conserving traditional dances and folklore, while most of the men within the tribe engage into labor-extensive work such as farming, food gathering, hunting, or resource management. The man within the tribe is responsible for managing the ancestral domains and lands since land ownership in their customs is patrilineal.
In short, both genders in the tribe are considered important and critical for the preservation and resource management. This marks the end of our short journey. Till next time.
The Baduy tribe of Indonesia is the opposite of digitalization that we are used to today. They live in the Banten region of Western Java in Indonesia, where they maintain seclusion from all technology and globalization. We chose this tribal community as we are fascinated by their culture and traditions, from completely disregarding modernization to the way they protect their environment. The men in the Baduy tribe wear white top and black skirt. The main difference in the women is that they wear a head turban. The inner Baduy wear white while the outer Baduy wear black or blue turban. Their clothing is a part of their everyday clothes since they mostly work in the field and forest, and the color symbolizes their deity and ancestors in their rituals. In the women clothing, Baduy Dalam wears a white long sleeve top and a black sarong. The white symbolizes their purity as the member of the inner circle. For the Baduy Laur or the outside circle, they wear blue sarong and black long sleeve tops, indicating that they are not pure anymore. These clothes are what they wear every day given that they are mostly in their houses doing chores and to aid movement when weaving fabrics. Natural resource conservation in the Baduy tribe is part of their spiritual values in which they consider their forests as sacred and center of their world. That is why both genders are involved in taking care of its resources. The differences in their role are much more reflected in their daily living. The role of women is concentrated on the domestic sector of the tribe, such as making hand-woven fabrics as their source of livelihood, house chores, and tending their gardens. The men are much more involved in the public sector, and they are often the leaders, attending ceremonies and rituals, and the community representative.
The Tuaregs are a group of semi-nomadic and pastoralist matrilineal inhabitants of North Africa. They are also from the Muslim lineage. However, contrary to the customs of women wearing veils, it is the men who wear indigo-stained veils, giving them the name the Blue Men of the Sahara. In this group, women are free to show their faces and they have a voice in the affairs of the tribe. They can own slaves and livestock, manage the herds, and educate the children. In a deficient and harsh environment of the desert, where droughts, diseases, outbreaks, and dangers of pillaging are evident, which pose threats to the group's resources, familial and extensive matrilineal relationships ensure safety and protection among kins. However, conflicts arose in this society. Among those are struggles for political power, the limitation of geographic zones, and struggles to gain access to grazing and water resources. The area has been prone to drought, desertification, deforestation, soil erosion, and insufficient supply of potable water. The Tuareg struggled to survive in the harsh environment, and the management of their resources were ineffective. And they were overwhelmed with the rapidly aggravating environmental issues. And in 1973, it killed thousands of Tuaregs along with their livestock. Here, we see a woman nursing her newly born child, another woman crying due to the death of her children, and a man who lost his only living cattle.
Hello everyone. Our group chose the pre-colonial Philippines. During this time, men and women worked together in the fields. Records show that it is a time when women were not abused or subdued by the men. In fact, positions of great power were likewise accessible to both men and women. Now, in the Philippine pre-colonial times, the priestly members of their society are considered one of the most important members of the barangay. Members of this class were given the task to preside over rituals and ceremonies, and they are the babaylans and the asogs.
Babaylans and asogs were important features for pre-colonial Philippines. In Visayas, Babaylans were notable in Panay, while the Asogs were rich in number in islands of Leyte and Samar. Both led shamanistic rituals which facilitated the care of the early Visayas natives towards the environment whose elements were perceived to be deities. Furthermore, their role in managing natural resources also revolved around their expertise to provide treatment for illnesses among communities through traditional herbs and determining when the harvest would most likely to be bountiful, a process which many identified to be a supernatural capability of Babaylans. To be specific, Babaylans were shamanistic leaders of native tribes who would facilitate the worship for natural elements such as trees and rocks. They are characterized in drawings and murals to hold dry rice straws which are believed to be their indicators for a bountiful harvest. Furthermore, distinct clothing items for Babaylans includes amulets, or better known as abgimat or anting-anting, which are believed to have a mystical properties, and shawls, often in red, to distinguish them from the local population. Asogs had a similar role, with the key difference between them being how Asogs were born as biological males. However, their infertility was claimed to curse them into taking on the role of a male babaylan in the long run. Their characteristics were found to be feminine in nature, and their clothing largely followed the outfits of babaylans. The key difference between them is that Asogs wear lambons instead of petticoats, which are reserved for babaylans.
The Mizo is an ethnic group consisting of different tribes from the Mizoram state, northeast India. They are agriculturists and are known for their arts and crafts, textiles, bamboo products, and basketry. They also value dance, music, festivals, and holidays. The Mizo tribe is a patriarchal and patrilineal society. Traditionally, women are under the dominance power of men. We chose this group wherein the status of women is inferior to men because we want to emphasize the significant role of women when it comes to natural resource and environment conservation. Mizo men dressed in a long piece simple clothing which reflects their simple lifestyle. During summer, they wear long clothes around their waist or a turban to protect them from heat. Mizo men are hunters and are usually only involved in the cutting of trees in the juming process. Women wear puan, a type of skirt woven by Mizo women. They wear colorful dresses to beautify themselves. They also wear handmade cotton blouses called karachi during festivals. Traditionally, women do more work than men. Mizo women are household workers, cultivators, and agricultural laborers. The slash and burn cultivation, known as jum, sowing seeds, cleaning weeds, harvesting, and transporting the harvest from jum to the house are jobs that are assigned to women. In conclusion, both play an important role when it comes to natural resource and environment conservation and should be recognized.
Wow! Wow! What a creative and innovative set of performances by our very, very talented classmates. I didn't imagine our classmates to be such amazing role players despite being stuck at home for this activity.
I couldn't agree more. The acting, grabe, famas worthy. Star Magic baka naman hit us up. Anyways, thank you very much guys for putting your heart and soul into these presentations. You all deserve a trip to Hogwarts. And that concludes our presentation. To our fellow audience, thank you for joining us today. Once again, we are SFFG 152 Section Y, your future forester and economist.
Remember, we do not need magic to transform the world. We carry all the power we need inside ourselves already. Thank you very much and have a good night.
I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and comment, and ring the notification bell. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!